Hey guys, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andres Seegers, and this time we're joined by Derek Bittner and Ash Paulson to discuss all of our hands-on time at Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS at E3 2014. So let's get started. Alright guys, so we played a bunch of Smash Bros. For both Wii U and 3DS at E3, and a lot of people have been wondering what our thoughts were. And let's go start off with you, Ash. What did you think of playing Smash Bros. On the Wii U? Well, on the Wii U specifically for now.
Well, on the Wii U, it felt like coming home, to be honest. I mean, it was set up with GameCube controllers at E3, whereas I guess the Best Buy players had to use Wii U Pro controllers, so I don't know how that would have felt. But yeah, E3 we got to use GameCube controllers, and it felt, honestly, like I said, coming home. It was, it played exactly how you expected it to. The new characters, while some of them were hard to learn, they felt, that they controlled, with, in a familiar way. And the graphics really pop. Smash Bros. In HD looks amazing. The stages especially look really great, especially those with bright colors like Pilot Wings. And it definitely, it kind of feels like a kind of a cross between Melee and Brawl, which is what they're going for, from what I understand. But it definitely feels closer to Brawl, much closer to Brawl than Melee. It's like a faster, more offensive version of, offensive-based version of Brawl, which in my view is a good thing. And there are also certain other changes, like shields are now much easier to break. But other things from Brawl, like the air dodge, that's back, so... or Brawl's version of the air dodge is back. So it definitely feels like an updated version of Brawl.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised how close to Brawl it felt, which, yeah, I mean, for me, that's also a good thing. I love Brawl, but it feels very similar to that game, much more so than any other Smash Bros. Has felt to any other, I would say. Which is another way of saying there hasn't been a ton of changes here, but more like a lot of smaller tweaks. But yeah, I very much enjoyed it overall, and I think you did too, right, Derek?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think Ash nailed it in the head there. You could just see it with every player that that tried out the game. They got that GameCube controller in hands, and they just were right with it. And it was kind of funny noticing a kind of similar theme going on, because the way the demo was set up is that they had monitors everywhere so people could play these games. I mean, you were only waiting about 3 or 4 people deep until you got to play. And what everybody was doing was they would try out a new character for the practice match, and as soon as that real match was on, we had a chance to win a t-shirt, everybody would switch to their mains. And yeah, it was so funny because you could just tell everybody just slipped right back into those roles, explored what was different about their characters with that by picking their mains, and just really got a sense for it. And I did see some people trying out, they might have liked the new character the first match and they decided to try him out for the second match. But yeah, it just felt so natural. Everybody slipped into those roles again. It was like, so easy to just get right back into. And I think part of that might have been the GameCube controller itself, because that's what everybody's used to playing with. Right. And yeah, as for myself, I felt the same way. I immediately found characters I was good with. I found characters I was bad with. I was took note of what had changed with all these characters, and I just really enjoyed the experience. I mean, I was so happy to get the chance to play and really play in the ideal setting. I think it played beautifully. You guys are right on the money when it says it feels closer to Brawl, but it does have it is a bit speedier than that game. And I just felt like everything, like, this isn't a complete version, but it felt complete. It felt so finished.
Yeah, it felt very polished, and actually did, pretty much every game Nintendo had on the show floor felt really polished. What did you guys think of the new characters? I think we all were able to try them all.
Well, it's probably no surprise to either of you that Mega Man's my favorite new character. Mm-hmm. I've been excited about him from the get-go. Mega Man's one of my favorite characters. I wanted him in Brawl, so lost my mind when he was revealed for Smash Wii U and 3DS. Finally got to play him, and I'm happy to report that they've done a really good job kind of transferring his moveset and just his overall character into Smash. I'm still kind of getting a handle on how to use his specials effectively, but all of his normals and smashes are surprisingly dangerous. He's a strong character. There's a bit of a learning curve with him because you have to kind of wrap your head around the fact that his normals and smashes, or at least his forward smash, isn't a punch or anything. It's a projectile. It's his Mega Buster. So once you get used to that and the fact that you're not actually punching but just shooting for his normal attacks, then you can figure it out and he gets really dangerous. But there is a bit of a learning curve there.
Oh, I can definitely attest to that because quick story time. When I was playing the 3DS version of Smash Brothers, I started off with Mega Man, which was not a great idea. As I hadn't played a 3DS game at all yet. The controls are weird, for lack of a better word. And I was playing as Mega Man. And every move of his, like, you know, I haven't been paying that much attention to him, but I never played Mega Man growing up. So every move of his to me felt like a special move. So I'm like, I have no idea which button was the attack or which was a special for the 3DS. And if you watch my Smash Run playthrough, like, it was a complete mess because of that. I was actually surprised more people didn't get on my case for my poor performance in that video. But I had no idea what I was doing as him for pretty much the bulk of that time. So
yeah, you aren't kidding when you say it's a learning curve. Figuring out the special, like your normal attacks are mostly just his little Mega Buster.
Right.
You're so used to just hitting characters, and that's how I play. I get in there and I just start hitting and try to rack up some damage. And with Mega Man, you really aren't able to do that. At least, like, not right away. You have to learn him first, and that was. I did all right with him, but I came away feeling like either I'm going to have to put in a lot more practice, or I think I might not like him that much. One of the two. I think it's more practice is necessary because Ash obviously loves him, and I'm assuming you put in the practice to get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, he was a newcomer I used more than anyone, of course, because I just was biased, but I really want to learn him. And once I figure out how to really effectively use his forward smash, which is its charge shot. It's actually really dangerous because it's a projectile smash, so it travels, throughout some of the stage, and it has a huge knockback. So you don't even have to be next to your opponent to KO them with Mega Man. You can do it from a little bit of distance away. It's almost like Samus's charge shot, except you don't have to really charge it as long. It's just a forward smash. So he's definitely a different character to use, and I think his specials, either I don't know how to use them well enough yet, or they're just not that great. He definitely has some drawbacks, and he's pretty light, so he's one of the easier characters to KO. But I think he's one of those characters that, in the hands of someone who's really learned him, he can be dangerous. But he's definitely not a pick up and play character.
Yeah, you make a good point there about his specials. Is that I found myself not really using his specials that often. I found like his other moves were more effective than his actual specials.
Yeah, I ended up using Crash Bomb quite a bit because it's basically like a free sticky bomb. You can just use a sticky bomb whenever you want, but you have to plan for it. You can't just go rushing in after that because they can stick back onto Mega Man like the regular sticky bomb. Same thing. I was kind of disappointed with the Metal Blade. It could be fired in 8 directions like in Mega Man 2, but it's kind of slow. It wasn't that powerful. It wasn't that great. The Leaf Shield apparently is actually really powerful, but I didn't know how to use it properly. Apparently it's kind of like Mr. Game & Watch's oil spill, where if you attack it with projectiles, it powers up, and then you can throw it back, and it'll do that much damage to whoever it hits. But in in its default state, it's a really, really weak move, so I didn't use it very much, but his recovery is great.
As far as my favorite character, I was surprised because I wanted to go in to learn Mega Man and just had trouble getting it to him. Same thing with Greninja, couldn't really get it to him. Just too early, or maybe I played him on the wrong. I played him on the 3DS version, so I think that might have a bit of an effect on me. But yeah, I found out that the two characters I enjoyed playing the most, both of them are a surprise to me, is Rosalina and the Wii Fit Trainer. Probably more so Rosalina. The funny thing is, I kept hearing all these people say she's so tricky to learn. I can't quite get the hang of her. And while I don't think I used her as effectively as I probably could with some practice, I still felt she was really powerful and really fun to use. Especially when you could get the Luma shot out there, get Luma out there to do some fighting. And I thought her smashes were excellent. I thought her specials worked out pretty well. I don't think I ever used her down special effectively at all. But I still think that's a character I'm going to keep my eye on when the full game comes out because I really enjoyed using her.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun. So the thing is, she herself isn't tricky to use. It's using her effectively with Luma that's tricky to use. Figuring out, because he moves in a manner completely unlike how like Nana does with the Ice Climbers. As far as I could tell, like he kind of does his own thing a lot of the time, whereas Nana consistently tries to follow you. She's more predictable. Luma, it could just be me not getting fully used to it, but I didn't have a good grasp on how exactly he was responding to what was going on around him. I don't know if you had a better grasp of that, Derek.
I didn't have too much of a trouble. I honestly just sort of
I mean, did you try flinging him out there, or did you keep him close?
No, I did fling him out there on occasion, but I didn't like focus on him once he was out there. I sort of just kept my my view on Rosalina, and whenever I thought about him to use for a move, that's when I'd glance over to see what he was doing and try to use him that way. So it's really about how well you can split your attention between the two to use them the most effectively. And I think if you can manage to do that, Rosalina could be a really devastating character.
I heard a lot of people saying that. I only used Rosalina once. I wanted to use her more. I just didn't really get a chance. But I heard a lot of people saying how strong she is, that she could actually be the most dangerous newcomer so far. And from what I saw, they're definitely right. I couldn't quite, kind of like you, Andre, I couldn't quite get a read on how to control the Luma,
right?
Effectively or at least reliably. So I'll definitely need more time to kind of figure that out. But yeah, she herself isn't that confusing. It's the Luma that's confusing. But
exactly.
One thing I can say with certainty for Rosalina is that she might be in the running for the worst Final Smash in the game. Definitely the worst new Final Smash.
Terrible. I mean, I played as her several times. I got that Final Smash several times. Other people got this Final Smash a bunch of times. I don't think I saw a single kill with that Final Smash.
Me neither. It's really terrible. I could see it being better on small stages, but in one of my matches, I was playing against a Rosalina, and I was able to avoid Power Star, her Final Smash, twice completely.
Yeah, like, I don't know how they messed... I mean, I guess, well, actually, I do know how they messed it up. I mean, Brawl had terrible balance for the Final Smashes, and it seems like that trait is carrying over, too.
Yeah.
It's easy to dodge. It doesn't have a gigantic range.
It doesn't cause much knockback. I think that's the biggest problem.
It doesn't, yeah. I mean, I'm actually surprised that it doesn't just follow her. Like, if it followed her around the arena, it would be a much better weapon.
Yeah.
As is, like, you just see it. It's like a Pokemon. Like, you see the Pokemon, appear in place, or like some Pokemon that appear in place, like coughing or whatever. And it's like, okay, I'll just avoid that small area, and I'll be fine,
Yeah.
Yeah, that pretty much sounds exactly... Yeah, that's pretty much how she works. It's kind of sad, but at least the rest of her is good, so I don't really mind too much of a bad Final Smash, just because the rest of her does have so much potential.
Well, I mean, Final Smashes. I mean, if you're playing seriously, you're probably not going to play with Final Smashes anyway, because I mean, they were imbalanced in Brawl, and that seems to be the case here too.
So far, yeah. I mean, you still have ones like Fox's Landmaster, which is on screen for way too long, and is probably in the running for the most overpowered Final Smash in the game now, because Supersonic's been nerfed, and but yeah, the Landmaster is still on screen way too long. So yeah, they need to really go a long way toward better balancing the Final Smashes, in my opinion.
So one of the new characters I played around with a lot was Lil Mac, and I had a lot of fun with him. He is super quick. He just unleashes punches like no one's business, and he's just a lot of fun. I found, like, just getting around and just, like, surprising people with attacks, basically. As long as you don't take to the air, which worked out well, because most of the, we saw Coliseum, like, way more than I expected to, that completely flat level for the most part, and he's pretty effective on that one. So, yeah, so I don't know if you guys had a chance to try him much, but I really enjoyed playing around with Lil Mac.
I only got to try him out on the 3DS version, which, like Greninja, sort of might affect my opinion of him, just because I found him very hard to keep track of. And he felt powerful, but I felt like I wasn't using him as effective as I should be. And I think that might be just because I had such a hard time keeping an eye on him on the 3DS version. And I know I could sense that he's he is going to be a fun fighter. I just didn't get to use him as effectively and not get just not feel like I could get a good read on him. I don't know.
No, he's a terror on the ground. He's really fast. He's really powerful. I did think it was interesting that his KO punch, when you build up his meter, his KO punch isn't actually a guaranteed KO. If you hit someone at 0%, like Rosalina, she doesn't actually get KO'd. So
yeah, I noticed that. Yeah,
I think it does about 39% damage, so it's still super powerful. But yeah, it's not a guaranteed KO. But yeah, he's really powerful on the ground. I wasn't prepared for just how worthless he is in the air, though. I thought he'd be not great in the air, but wow, he's absolutely worthless in the air. All of his air attacks are whiffs, and his recovery is maybe the worst in the game.
Yeah.
So, which it makes sense, because he's definitely one of the most powerful characters in the game on the ground. But I do like that he's balanced like that. But wow, I mean, you cannot. He's one of those one of those characters that's going to be entirely dependent on the stage you're playing.
I was actually really concerned about how well he'd be able to get the Smash Ball because of his terrible air game. But I did find if you can get a his up special directly underneath the smash ball, he typically takes it out almost immediately. So you don't have to worry about trying to track them to smash ball that way.
Speaking of smash balls with Little Mac, I'm not even sure it's worth the trouble, because I actually, when I did play as him, I did get a smash ball, and I got to try Gigamac out, and it's kind of interesting. For as strong as Little Mac is on the ground, Gigamac isn't really that scary. I mean, I wasn't really able, maybe it was just me, but he didn't really feel that overwhelmingly powerful, unlike, say, Giga Bowser, and you can actually damage him while he's in Gigamac form. So it's not like he's invincible like a lot of characters are in their final smashes. So that was, kind of running counter to how strong Little Mac is. That was actually one of the less effective new final smashes, I thought.
I guess that actually brings up another point with the whole Smash Ball. Did you guys feel like it took a lot longer to break open the Smash Ball of this game?
It's hard to tell. I mean, I don't think anyone's getting solid hits in on that for when I was seeing it, so I don't know. I remember it being pretty hard to break open in Brawl on occasion, too.
Yeah, it didn't really feel too different to me. I mean, it seems like, kind of like in Brawl, sometimes it'll break easily, sometimes it won't.
I guess that's true, but I felt like every time I was going for it, I just hit the hell out of the thing, and it just would not break open, which was very frustrating at times. I guess going on to the next character, I also mentioned that I really enjoyed Wii Fit Trainer, which, as soon as you saw her, you almost considered her more of a joke character. But she's actually really damn good.
Yeah,
at least that I found. Like, she's just a very solid fighter. I wouldn't say specifically great in any one way, but just overall, I felt like I did a lot of damage with her, and just really pulled it off. And her moveset is so fun to use. Just all the different exercise moves that she used. I just had a lot of fun with her, much more than I expected to.
Yeah, same here. I was surprised at how strong her volleyball projectile is. It's a lot stronger than I expected it to be. Her recovery with the hula hoops is great. And yeah, just kind of her in general. I don't think she stands out at any one particular thing, but she's a strong character just in general. And I saw a lot of people doing really well with her. So I think she's going to be competitively viable. And her final smash is basic, but it's good. It's basically a better version of the Mario finale.
Yeah, it kind of is.
I did note that a fully deep breathing powered sun salutation is incredibly dangerous. I learned that the hard way, unfortunately.
Very nice.
Because I was on the receiving end of it.
We were talking to some professional Smash players while there, and they actually learned something interesting about her. I forget which moveset it was. What exactly she was doing, but apparently one of the moves that she pulls off actually had, if you hold the move, and do you remember this conversation, Ash?
Yes, I do.
If you hold one of her moves, it'll actually cause them to get sunk into the ground as if they were hit by a pitfall, which makes her really deadly. Actually, if you know how to use that. And I actually, after they mentioned that, I saw somebody use that maneuver, and it was like, oh wow, that might be one of her most devastating moves, just because it completely leaves somebody open. So you could do that maneuver, have a fully charged sun salutation. As soon as they're down in the ground, use that, and off they go flying. So she has some interesting setups.
Definitely, yeah. She is. She's not at all the kind of joke troll character I thought she'd be. She's definitely a competitively viable, dangerous character in my opinion.
So what do you guys think of Greninja? Yeah, that's kind of how too.
I've seen a lot of people compare him to Sheik, which I think is a pretty apt description.
I didn't like using Sheik either.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, that's the funny thing. I had a lot of fun when I played as Sheik on the 3DS version. I didn't have nearly as much fun with Greninja. I guess that's maybe because I knew Sheik a little bit better. Mm-hmm. But he played fine, and I think another reason for that is I played on the 3DS version, which made it a little bit difficult. And I think that was also the first time I played the game, so I was going on a new system, new character, new control setup, and I think that colored my opinions of him. So I would have liked to go back and try him out, but I just didn't have the time. He has a lot of potential. I just had no time to learn him whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm mixed on Greninja. I didn't like playing him as much as I thought I would, but I do think that some of his moves are surprisingly powerful, like the Aqua Shuriken. That does an insane amount of damage and knockback if you charge it all the way. It really is powerful. And Shadow Sneak too is a great kind of well, I don't want to say sneaky because it's called Shadow Sneak, but it really is cool the way it works. I mean, you see a little shadow extend out from where he's standing, and then if you let it go at the right time, he'll pop up behind the opponent and attack them. It's a fun move to use, and it's really useful. But I don't know, he didn't feel quite as just visceral as I thought he would. I expected to, I don't know, I expected him to feel more badass, I guess, just because it's Greninja, and he's like a water ninja, and he's cool, and I don't know, he didn't feel as powerful as I was expecting.
I can see the potential there, but I think the setting I played him in just did not allow me to really get a handle on him.
Well, that's part of the thing too. No one played Smash Brothers there enough to even begin to scratch the surface of these characters, I would say.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's so much more to them, and that environment was not the best. Too many matches are not the ideal environment in which to discover how to play a character.
No,
definitely not.
So, I mean, he was all right. It was interesting. A lot of people found out that with his Final Smash, if you use it in the air, you can't like attack somebody that's also in the air. It actually immediately goes to the ground below you because it's like lifting up a floor panel.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you got to really take that into account. So if you see Greninja with a Final Smash, get a Final Smash, just keep jumping. You'll be fine.
Nice.
Alright, so I guess that leaves just one character left, being the Villager. And I didn't actually play as him that much. I tried him a couple times, and it wasn't nearly enough to even get a feel for him. So, did you guys try him a little bit more, or?
I played him a little bit, and the reaction I had to him was pretty much the reaction I expected to have with Greninja, because he was a lot more effective than I thought he would be. His attacks are really good. His specials are excellent. I don't know. He just felt like a very solid character, which, I don't know, he just looked like such a jokey character along the lines of Wii Fit Trainer that I didn't really expect to, get much out of him. And I think he might be one of the best new characters in the game.
See, I kind of actually had the opposite experience. He ended up being kind of exactly what I thought he'd be for me, which is a kind of a gimmicky character that can be really effective if you really put in the time to learn them, but he definitely has a high learning curve, in my opinion, because a lot of his specials are really strange, his normals are really weird, and probably his most powerful special move, which is the tree cutting move, is really hard to set up, so at least set up properly. So for me, I think he can be really powerful in the right hands, but he's not the kind of character I would normally want to spend a whole lot of time learning. So I don't see myself using him a lot in the final game, and it also doesn't help that his Final Smash is pretty terrible. But I don't know. He's definitely has potential, but I don't know. He didn't really resonate with me very much.
So that's it for the newcomers. But what did you guys think about playing as the returning fighters? Did you try out your previous mains if they were here, and how did they compare to what you expected?
I did try out my previous mains. My previous mains were Fox and Olimar. And Fox, I don't know. I really had a lot of trouble getting Fox down. I don't know why. I just wasn't using him effectively, and I don't know whether it's because he was nerfed or I was just playing terribly. I did hear from a lot of people that his up air has been weakened significantly.
It has.
But otherwise, I mean, he felt like he played fine. For some reason I had a hard time just picking him right back up.
Yeah, Fox has been nerfed considerably, especially with his up air kill, because that used to be such a reliable way to kill someone, and it's not anymore. And I mean, overall, he still feels fairly similar to Brawl, but he's definitely been nerfed. My main in Brawl was Kirby, and I'm happy to say that he's actually been buffed quite a bit. And you could see that from the Smash Invitational. He came in second. And yeah, his new Hammer Flip move is really powerful. It works a lot like the way it does in Kirby Triple Deluxe, actually. So if you can charge it up and deliver it correctly, it does a lot of damage. And his air game is still excellent. His new Final Smash is much better than his old one. And just in general, I mean, his dash attack is still really good. Like I said, his air game is great. He's still really powerful, but he's just overall stronger than he used to be. I think the one thing that really got hit a little with him is his final cutter that now doesn't travel as far. But that's not, that's hardly a big deal when he's been buffed across the board everywhere else.
I guess I mentioned Olimar, and I think Andre and I have differing opinions on this because I really enjoyed what they did with Olimar. I felt just as powerful as before.
Worse.
He did not make. I don't think they made him worse. I know you're upset that they cut his Pikmin from 6 to 3, but that never felt like it became an issue for me. And I think his recovery is much better. At least it flows better with what I like to do as far as play wise.
Oh yeah, I meant thematically worse.
Oh, okay, thematically worse. No, I felt like he was a lot of fun to play. I'm a little disappointed his Final Smash wasn't changed up, just because I like the idea of him using the Pikmin a bit more. you know, a bit of a way, but his Final Smash was always pretty decent to begin with. Yeah, I mean, I didn't notice any major changes outside the obvious ones, but what I played, I really enjoyed, and actually, you know, maybe I like it so much because I won my match.
That kind of leads me to a quick point, was that one of the things I was most disappointed about in Smash in general actually was the lack of new Final Smashes for veterans, especially ones that needed them. I was expecting, I mean, Zero Suit Samus got a new Final Smash, and it's actually really powerful. But, I mean, look at someone like Toon Link, who still has the Triforce Slash. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there could have been a few more new Final Smashes along the lines of Kirby's and Luigi's. I mean, Donkey Kong's is still the Conga Beat, which is one of the worst Final Smashes, you know, in the history of the game.
They changed it somewhat. They gave them at least they gave you a timing button this time.
That's true, but I mean, and the Mario finale is still meh. You know, that kind of disappointed me. I was expecting and hoping, like Sheik in the Light Arrow. Sheik is such a different character than Zelda. I feel like the Light Arrow suits Zelda perfectly, but if Zero Suit Samus can get a new Final Smash, why not Sheik?
Yeah, I mean, we knew about all the new Final Smashes going in, apparently. There's nothing that we saw there that we didn't know about, which is unfortunate, and kind of explains why we didn't know about anything else, because they are just the same. There's nothing else to show about them.
Yeah.
And I'll actually kind of extend that complaint to actually most of the returning characters in general. Did most of them feel like Brawl? Like they don't have that many changes, you know. With a couple, there are a few exceptions, like Olimar, Pit, and even Bowser. To some degree, and Sheik, yeah. But a lot of them also just feel almost too much the same. Like Sonic, for instance, I still don't like using. His moveset is still just as lame as before, in my opinion. And
yeah, well, his moveset is similar, but he's been buffed across the board, so all of his moves do more knockback now.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a better character. I just didn't find him fun originally.
Yeah.
Like his moveset, like all the specials feel the same to me.
Yeah, and I agree that I was a little disappointed with how similar a lot of the veterans felt.
Yeah.
To Brawl. I mean, especially with ones that needed obvious rethinking, like Mario. I mean, who really uses Flood in Brawl? No one. Why would they bring
except
it
for
back
Fran Mirabella at IGN.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So why would they bring the Flood back and stuff like that? I mean, like you said, there are certain characters who do feel fairly new. Like Sheik has some new specials, and Zelda. Even though I'm really sad that she's been nerfed so horribly, she does have the Phantom Slash now, which is pretty cool.
I don't know. I mean, I get your point, but I think overall the characters all feel pretty good. I loved it, and I did really enjoy the changes they made, and I do agree with you. That some of them could have stood to be changed, but the changes they did make, I appreciated. I got to play Pit, try out the changes for him. Really liked his new moveset. He felt like almost felt like a completely different character.
He actually does.
Just because he played so different from how I played him in Brawl, and I really enjoyed it. I really want to play with him more to really get an idea for him. And the same for Sheik, actually. I really enjoyed Sheik's new moves, especially her bomb, because it has a pull-in effect. You send it out, and it'll actually pull in nearby characters and then explode. And I really like that. I think she can be very effective. So I think there are a lot of good changes overall, but there are, because of that, you kind of like the ones that aren't changed feel less changed because of that.
Like I feel like Sonic could also, like you were saying, Andre, even though he's been buffed, it does feel like all of the specials are variations on the spin dash.
Right.
Like it doesn't really feel. I feel like there's so much more they could do with at least one of his specials. It's just another spin dash.
Yeah,
that's the thing. You look at the creativity at hand with Mega Man and with Pac-Man, and as a Sonic fan, you know of all these different things that he's done over the years that they could add into. Like Pac-Man's pulling characters from all across Namco's history. Sonic could use his shields. Like that'd be awesome to have his shields come into play in some way. And I mean, the dash attacks are fine. Sonic was actually one of my favorite characters to play as, maybe just because of the newness of him and the fact that he was in a Smash Brothers game. But I felt like he was okay. But I would totally agree with that his special attacks, like I could barely tell the difference between what they actually do half the time. So I think that's what the stinging part is, that Sonic does not feel as cared for as the rest.
Yeah, I could agree with that for sure.
Alright, well I think that's enough about the characters. Let's move on to the stages. And I was actually surprised by how well most of them felt, really. Like some of the ones I thought looked lame in our previous discussions ended up playing super well. Take the Pilot Wing stage, for example. Like it's a very simple stage, like you're just on a plane for most of it, and I thought it played awesome. I just loved I just loved everything about the stage, how it looked and how it played, even though it is pretty simple.
No, I totally agree with you. I saw how the game that looked from all the screenshots. I had a feeling it would play very well, and it really did. I mean, it was a lot of fun to play as. It sort of reminded me of one of the Fox stages, the Star Fox stages in Brawl. You know how you were on the Great Fox and you could drop, or maybe it was Melee, how you could drop down to the sides, especially with the biplane there, because you could hang out the bottom there and hit people above, and not really much they could do to you unless they dropped down. So there's some interesting strategies at play. It felt very refined and just really fun, honestly.
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling for a while that that was going to be one of my favorite stages, and it didn't really disappoint at all. It looks great. I love how how much the colors pop with the sky and the ocean. And it's just a fun. It looks dynamic, but it's actually a fairly basic stage. I mean, when the plane you're on flies off, you just drop down to the next plane. And there's no real strategy or to that or anything that you have to do. It's not like, say, Big Blue or Pokefloats where you have to worry about the platforms. This is just you're never really going to be knocked off the plane unless you're KO'd. So I did like that. It's a really beautiful stage that's basic and fun to play on, and it might have been my overall favorite actually of the ones in the demo.
Yeah, it was a pretty good one. It was definitely up there for me too. Although I think I also like the Mushroom Kingdom U stage.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that one. I think that's my favorite.
I love that one.
Yeah, it's just such. I mean, it just looks great for one. I love how it changes to different themes. It just felt really dynamic and just a lot going on, and yeah, it just felt like almost like a quintessential Smash Brothers stage to me.
Yeah, I love that. I agree. It was fun. There were hazards, but not too many. But I liked it how the stage constantly shifted. Each stage really had its own visual identity, or each version of the stage really had its own visual identity.
Right.
And it was just like you said, a very quintessential Smash Brothers stage. Nothing really stands out about it, but it's just fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the colors popped. I mean, it was just, I don't know. There's something just very fun about it. I really enjoyed it. And I could say the same about Coliseum, although, Andre, I think you hate Coliseum at this point because it came up so much.
Yeah.
But I think as a level itself, I think it's kind of fascinating that it plays so similarly to how we imagined Arena Ferox to play, so that there's almost, other than a general setting, there's almost no difference between them.
Well, the only real difference is that it's a walk-off stage, so there's no pits on either side. You just walk off the stage, and I abuse that to the best of my ability, where I just grab people and just throw them off the ledge or throw them off the screen. I don't know. Overall, I wasn't a huge fan of that stage actually. I still think it looks cool. Wasn't a huge fan of how it played though. I didn't think it's kind of boring when it's just a flat stage starting off. And I didn't think the platforms added that much. They weren't as exciting as I expected they might be, based on the first reveal of them a few weeks ago.
Yeah, well, one thing I did like about Coliseum actually is how horizontally large it was. It felt kind of like Bridge of Eldin in that sense, and I enjoy that about it. But I agree, the platforms didn't really add a whole lot to it, and it didn't really stand out to me other than that. But I do appreciate how big it was and how much room you had to fight compared to a lot of the other stages, especially because in this new Smash Brothers, it seems generally easier to KO people than in the past. Another one I'm happy to say that I liked more than I thought I would going in was Skyloft, just because the screenshots made it look like, it was a Wii game in terms of, reused assets, and just generally didn't look that impressive. But in motion, I have to say, it looks a lot better.
It does. I totally agree with that. It doesn't look that much out of place compared to the rest. Maybe still a little bit, but it definitely looks a lot better in motion. And I think that's because you are just flying around the island for much of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is cool sitting down, setting up shop at different places basically, and just seeing a whole bunch of different areas of this pretty massive world.
Yeah, and there were a lot of different trajectories that your platform could take through Skyloft, I noticed.
Right.
Yeah. No, it really did feel like a worthy successor to Mario Sunshine's level in Brawl. Just really fun to play. I still didn't notice any. I definitely didn't notice any difference in graphical fidelity this time. I don't know. I don't think there was a bad stage in the bunch for the Wii U version at all.
Well, I do have to disagree with you really quick, Derek, about there not being a bad stage in the bunch so far. I hate to say this, being such a Mega Man fan, but I didn't like Dr. Wily's Castle.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. I didn't actually get to play it, so I didn't have an opinion.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I really wanted to be, and I tried to make every excuse I could for it, but honestly, It's just, it doesn't, like we said in our stage analysis before, it doesn't really show a lot of imagination in terms of the Mega Man series, in my opinion, because it's just a flat platform with Wily's Castle in the background. But worse than that, it's too small. It's really small, and the Yellow Devil, once it appears, takes up more than, or about half the stage, and once it starts moving across the stage in blobs, you can't, there's no avoiding it. And again, I like stage hazards, I like items, I like all that stuff, it's fine. But this is one that you really cannot avoid. There's a small safe spot behind the Yellow Devil that you can use to kind of escape the battle if you want. But it's just, there's too much chaos going on, and you can't really escape it.
Yeah, I did hear that from a lot of people that I talked to about the game, and they pretty much echoed all of your complaints there. The thing I've took away from that is, why was there such a big deal made about stage bosses? Because that's what happened. Because he made such a big deal of it at that time,
and we
or
say
it
what?
felt like it seemed like he made such a big deal. And there's only one. You know, we were like, oh, they could use bosses for this, they could use bosses for that. To me, after watching the stage, at the very least, it just seems like another stage hazard.
Yeah,
it's really not that big
like.
of a deal.
I mean, that is kind of what it is. I mean, in that it seems to be pretty stage specific. But based on what Ash has said, and I didn't play that stage much myself, it does sound like it's more of a hazard than a normal stage hazard. I think that's the main thing. Is that they are. I mean, would you agree with that, Ash? I mean, most stage hazards happen and then they're done. Whereas this guy sticks around, and plus he is interactive. You know, whoever lands the last hit gets the bonus.
Yeah, he sticks around, and I mean, and even once you destroy him, he comes back really quickly. So it's not like there's a whole lot of time to fight without him there. I think if you could turn the Yellow Devil off, it would be a serviceable, if kind of just boring stage that doesn't really stand out. I'm sure it'll have some awesome music once we're able to hear it, because Mega Man has awesome music. But yeah, I don't know. I've never really had a stage that had me wish I could turn off stage hazards, but that one definitely did.
Huh. Yeah, it's fairly interesting. Well, speaking of stages that aren't terribly remarkable by themselves, I would add the Golden Plains from Smash Bros. 3DS to that. In that by itself, it's nothing remarkable, but it has this really cool coin mechanic where if you collect 100 coins, you turn into a gold character. And it makes you stronger and more resistant to being knocked out. And I actually really thought that was a lot of fun. Not just getting, not just becoming the gold character, but the whole thing and trying to get the coins to do that. Like, it kind of changes how you play that stage because you're going for the coins, and depending on where the coins are, that's going to change where everyone's going to. So I thought it was actually, despite the general lameness of the platform design, it actually plays really well.
No, it totally did, and I didn't expect this just from that little glimpse we got the day before, that for it to have like P switches around, so blue coins show up, or little things that'll cause red coins to show up, so different values and stuff like that. So there's a lot of interactivity with the coins themselves, and you're right. As if it was just completely blank and it was just a stage, it'd be really boring.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you guys just said. I mean, I think its biggest problem is that it's visually just very boring. It's just a lot like New Super Mario Bros. 2 itself, which the 3D, whereas it really pops in the rest of the game. In this one, it just has that kind of same depth of field effect that New Super Mario Bros. 2 had, and it just doesn't. It's not a very interesting looking stage, and it just looks rather boring. But in actual practice, it's pretty fun to play with all the, like you said, the coins and their different values.
I really enjoyed for the 3DS version Spirit Tracks.
Yeah.
Spirit Tracks was so much fun. I wish that was on the Wii U.
I know, right?
I so wish I was on the Wii U because it would look gorgeous. I love how it plays. Like it's much faster than I thought it would be. I did not expect it to shift, like the actual train to shift to the back, so you could actually end up off stage. Like the shifting, the way it shifted back and forth along the tracks and what could pop up was just so much fun. It was just kept you active, and God, I love that stage.
Now, see, I actually didn't like it as much as I thought I would. Now, maybe that's because I didn't play enough on it, but I only played it twice, and both times I felt like I didn't really have enough room to maneuver and fight, especially with the bombs coming down from the sky. Because don't the bullet trains, or at least there's some giant bomb that comes and hits the train from the sky, and it's felt kind of hard to avoid. And I don't know, I never really felt like I had enough room to kind of fight on that stage. But again, I also only played it twice, so maybe I didn't really get a good enough feel for it.
Yeah, I mean, that could be. It's sometimes hard to get a good feel for a level, especially, again, in these short matches.
Yeah. Although I will say that a problem I definitely had, or a stage I definitely had that problem on, was Gerudo Valley. I didn't like that stage at all, because, not only is there not a whole lot of room to work with, but once the bridge breaks and you've got Kome and Kotake and their ice and their fire attacks hitting the ground, there's, like, no room to do anything. Like, it's a really tough stage to deal with, because there just really isn't any ground.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it there. I mean, it probably has less room to work with than Mega Man stage, if I've had to say anything.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Just because there is so little real estate, and the middle is definitely a death trap. I mean, there's ways to save yourself, but you get in a fight down there. There's barely enough room for 2 people.
Yeah,
in the center, and yeah, I mean, it's. I like the concept, but it feels like it should be just a little bit bigger. Yeah,
no, it felt like it needed to be a bit bigger, and it definitely felt like Kome and Kotake's attacks don't need to take up the entirety of one side. Because when they hit the ground, the entire ground on one side of the bridge is completely unusable.
Fortunately, I didn't have them show up too much. I think one of them didn't show up until like minute 50 in. And they froze to one side. So, fortunately, they don't pop up too often, at least a little bit that I played. So it might be a bit random there, so you might have a bit more to work with. But still, it was surprisingly underwhelming. I did, however, really enjoy the Reset Bomb Forest. I felt like both stages of that level worked really well. We wondered if it was going to be a traveling stage for the second half. It's not. It's just stationary, which is completely fine with me. It just changes up the layout and how you have to work with it. I don't know. It felt really solid. I think it just looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that stage too, and it's got at least in the demo it had music straight out of Kid Icarus Uprising, which is never a bad thing. That along with the background made it feel very epic. It's a fun stage to fight on. It's a little basic, but that's okay. I mean, it's just fun to fight on, and that was definitely one of my favorite stages in the 3DS version. And another one I actually like for the same reason. It's not quite as epic, of course, but it's just kind of fun and just fun and just general is Tortimer Island, which I thought was just fun. I mean, it didn't feel too small like I thought it originally might, and it was fun. It was bright. It popped. It was definitely more interesting, I thought, than Town and City from the Wii U version, just because that felt like an HD version of Smashville and really nothing more. But this one kind of had its own identity, and what I did find interesting was that they took out swimming. So I know one of our original questions about Tortimer Island was how water would be handled in this game, and at least at present, you just fall into it and die. Like, there's no swimming, there's no floating. It's like falling into a pit.
Which was kind of a shock for me. It was like, oh, okay, I'll land in the water, and all of a sudden, boop. I'm like, what?
2 other stages, and I think they actually ended up being maybe my favorite stages in the 3DS version, were Prism Tower from Pokemon X and Y, and Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 7, and I think I'm actually starting to see a pattern here in terms of the Smash stages I really like at both versions, which is that they're all traveling stages. That they kind of have a platform that travels from place to place, and I don't know, I guess I just really like the visual splendor of those stages, but it's just, they're both fun. Rainbow Road is exactly what I thought it would be. It's kind of like the Mario Kart version of Port Town Aerodive from Brawl, and it's fine. It has a really cool remix of the Rainbow Road theme playing from Mario Kart 7, and it stops at various places in the track. Shy Guys drive at you from the background. It's just a fun stage, and same thing with Prism Tower. I'm really finding that I enjoy those kind of basic traveling stages a lot.
Yeah, and I had a lot of fun with them too in both versions of the game. I just like how the energy they have. Like it feels like there's a lot going on because there is, at least in the background. Just kind of fun to look at, especially when you're watching the game. Not playing, which we were doing a bunch of the time too. It just looks awesome. So. Alright, so that covers it for pretty much all the stages, but we haven't really talked much about the 3DS version itself and how it plays. We talked about the stages and we talked about some other elements, but so for me, I didn't like the 3DS version really at all. I don't like how it feels with the controls. The shoulder, I forget exactly how it works, but the grab and shield are assigned oddly, which you'll be able to change in the final version of the game. But yeah, I didn't like that. I thought the screen was, even on the XL, even playing on the TV they have hooked up to the XL, was too small to fully see your character. Like, your characters can be really small, really hard to see, and even with using the targeting reticule, it doesn't help that much. I don't know, I didn't like using the circle pad for smashes. I just thought the whole thing was kind of a mess, to me, honestly.
I want to say the biggest problem I had was just the button layout, because, you know, L button for grab, right button for shield, and then they strangely had they kept A for standard attacks, B for special attacks, and then the other two buttons for jump. And, you know, we're so used to using GameCube controllers and doing, like, it's not so much with the button layout, it's where the thumbs are moving. So our thumbs are completely different positions from how we're used to when we're playing Smash. So I found myself jumping when I didn't want to because I just trying to do that. And I adjusted eventually, but I can just imagine, I know how some people felt at the Best Buy event because they had to use the Pro controllers. And that's the exact same button layout that the Pro controllers had. Mm-hmm. So it's that same variation where apparently you're able to customize it, but it's such an odd choice to have as the default. It throws you off for long-time players, and you can adjust to it eventually, but it's still like, I don't know, I couldn't get into it as far as control wise. Now once I did get the handle of the controls, I thought it played it. I got, you know, I didn't have much trouble with the smash attacks. I felt it was most of my problems did come from seeing my character. Just the amount of chaos that happened and trying to keep track of where I was, what I was doing. That could be because, you know, just not used to it yet, but it did feel really hard to just keep track of yourself.
Yeah, I don't know. I had those problems kind of starting out with the 3DS version, but by the end of V3, I'd actually kind of dealt with all my control issues, and I was actually having a lot of fun with it. So my opinion of the 3DS version changed significantly over the course of V3, and kind of ended at a pretty favorable point. I definitely agree with the control issues. I don't think it's a problem endemic to the actual game. I think it's a problem with the fact that the 3DS just really isn't built for Smash Brothers. But, you know, once I spent some time with it, I was able to start pulling off smash attacks reliably, even with the circle pad. You know, I was able to get a little more used to using R to dodge reliably. My main issue still was using L to throw items and do things like that. That was tough. But overall, you know, honestly, after I spent some time with it, I didn't have too many problems with the controls. There's no question that the Wii U version is the superior version in any, you know, in every respect. But you know, the 3DS version for what it is, I think it was fun, and I actually never had the problem that you guys described of not being able to keep track of my character on the screen. I never once experienced that, so I don't know if it was just me or what, but I had no problems with that. Now I did play with the 3D on all the time, and I thought it looked really good, and I don't know if that affected my being able to keep track of my character, but at least with 3D on, I never had any problems. I do want to say that I spent quite a bit of time with Smash Run, and it's really fun. I actually like that mode a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about Smash Run yet. I played it a couple times, and it seemed like it was a mode. I don't know, I'd have to play more. It seemed like it had promise, but also seemed kind of gimmicky too at the same time. Unfortunately,
I didn't get a chance to play Smash Run, so I can't add too much to it other than, you know, what I've seen. But it looked basic enough. I mean, there was excitement in it because of the Kirby Air Ride connection, but I'm guessing that it didn't feel like it made a connection for you, Andre, as far as that mode's concerned.
Oh, it's hard to tell in the demo. I mean, I've played demos before and felt completely differently when I actually play them in for real. Maybe I'll end up really liking the 3DS version. I mean, for me, like, I see the 3DS version just it hasn't appealed to me fundamentally from day one. Like, Smash Brothers is a game I want to play on the TV with my friends. You know, on the TV, like on the couch, on the TV.
I don't know. I can see myself playing the 3DS version a lot when on the road, or you don't want to go to events like conventions and stuff where people want to play on their 3DSs and can't necessarily play at home. So, I mean, I definitely think the Wii U version will be my version of choice when I can choose. But, you know, I've been kind of excited from day one to have Smash on the go, and you know, it's definitely not going to replace the core experience of playing it on the Wii U, but I think it's a nice supplementary experience, and I'm excited for it to come out and you know, have it to play on the go. I don't really have any major issues with it now after spending some time with it.
Yeah, I think after a period of adjustment, I could get behind the 3DS version. You know, of course, like you guys, it's not going to replace the Wii U version, not a chance. But there are a lot of ideas in here I really like. Like, I kind of wish and pray and hope, and I know it's never going to happen, for like DLC for the Wii U version that allows you to import the 3DS levels, because some of the levels in that game were so fun and so good that I want to play them on the Wii U. And you know, it's going to be a fine experience, I think, especially since you can customize your controller, so you can figure out how you want to do it that way. It's just a matter of adjustment and how willing, like, it all comes down to how much you want to play Smash on the go. If you're prepared and willing to play it as much as you want and treat it as the on-go experience, I think you'll love it. If you're just more of a at-home gamer and don't use the 3DS much, like Andre, then you probably just won't like it that much. It really comes down to taste. I think overall, though, it will be a good game. It's just all based around what you think how it matches up to your life.
Yeah, that's certainly true. I guess for me, I'd just rather just play a handheld game better suited for the handheld experience than playing an inferior version of a game I'd rather play at home. Alright, well, I think that wraps up for our Smash Brothers discussion, so thanks guys for watching. If you liked our discussion, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain, which you can find links to in the description below. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplain.com for more on Smash Brothers Wii U and 3DS and other things gaming as well. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.